record too. So I guess we can go over just kind of the logistics of class. That's basically what today is for. I'm not going to keep you the whole time. As we discussed a moment ago, we meet for an hour 15. So we start at 1:35 and end at 2:50. Math is kind of hard when you're doing these very specific numbers. No, it's not that hard. But all right, so just yeah, today we'll just go over a few things. As you can see on this part, I've only got a few slides for you. I want to give you a taste of what the class will be like, right? Just how things are going to be run. We'll get the technology going. I'll talk about the syllabus and kind of my expectations, and then we'll call it a day. So I guess first things first, as you can see, it's a hybrid class, right? So we've got people in the Zoom room. We've got people in the room here with us. I didn't warn you about this, so today is again just sort of a practice day. But going forward, what I'd like to happen is have everybody join the Zoom room, right? Because we have 3 of us here and then 8 of us, 9 of us in the Zoom room. This way we can kind of all connect to each other. You can talk to them, they can talk to you. We're going to do these breakout rooms where I'm going to split you into smaller groups, maybe groups of 4 or 5 or whatever, and we can discuss things together in the smaller groups. And again, kind of get to know each other, share ideas. I don't know about you all, but it was sort of a quiet winter for me, right? I didn't get to see a lot of different kinds of people, and so here's our chance to see people. Hooray! We can talk to each other and stuff. So the goal again is to take advantage of that, right? Take advantage of our time together and actually talk to each other, and you won't have to just listen to me talking at you the whole time. So when we start class, we'll usually start with some kind of lecture, a little bit of lecture, right? We're going to do some reading, and then we'll kind of go over the reading together. This image is a little bit dark on the screen in here, the way the lighting works in this room. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger so maybe you can see it better. So when you see this image, obviously this is a religion class. At the bottom of the image, I captioned it as a religious space. So it's a religious space. What kind of religious space is this? What do you see here? It's Buddhist. Yeah. What's your name? Anthony. So how do you know it's Buddhist, Anthony? There's a Buddha in the middle. Yeah, exactly. How do you know it's Buddha? You just know, right? And so again, by way of kind of introduction, this is what we're going to be doing, right? We're going to see religious things. You might feel like, oh yeah, that's religious. And then I'll say, how do you know it's religious? And then you say, huh, I never thought about that before, right? And you just sort of know, right? You just sort of know. But if we look carefully at the different characteristics, is there a particular thing that kind of jumps out at you? Like, what about this feels Buddhist to you? Just like the face, has like that really squished face. He's got the squished face. Yeah. Well, let's see if we can zoom anymore. Yeah, we can zoom a lot. So he's got kind of squinty eyes, right? Almost like they're not totally open. Okay. What else about his face seems remarkable? Yeah, the background's kind of interesting, right? He's got this kind of flaming thing behind him. Can you see that? A word we might be familiar with is a halo. Would you call this a halo behind his head? There are different aspects of halo. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it's not exactly the same as some halos we've seen. So what are you thinking about when you say different aspects of halo? Yeah, so like on the cartoons and stuff, sometimes you see a circle above somebody, and that means they're like an angel or something. Here, the circle is behind his head, but it's also still a circle, right? And I've not done a ton of research on this, but I believe there's some kind of historical connection there, where halos are not limited to one culture, one place. They're actually kind of shared across the board as this light behind holy people's heads. So it's sort of an interesting idea that the Buddha would have a halo behind his head. This also has flames and stuff, though, so it looks a little like what's your name? Kevin. So like Kevin said, it's a little bit different than some halos he's seen before too. So very good. We know he is a holy person of some kind. He's got this serene look on his face. Anything else special that says there's a Buddha to you? And of course, for folks in the chat, you're welcome to join the conversation as well. Yeah, the pipes like to talk in this room. I've taught in this room before, and when I first came in, I was like, is this haunted or something, right? But no, it's a common occurrence once things start heating up in there. What about like his feet or his hands? Can you tell anything? Can you kind of? I know it's a little bit dark. Can you tell what's going on? The way he's dressed, yes. Can you tell how he's dressed? What's he wearing? Yeah, so some kind of robe, right? We can see on his shoulders, there's some cloth here. It might be his bare chest. It's a little bit hard to make out. So yeah, he's definitely wearing not your average clothes, right? They're sort of like special old style clothes. We can see robes on his legs as well. How would you describe the posture that he's sitting in? Back straight. It's like he's meditating. Yeah, exactly. So that's another way to think about how do you know it's a Buddha? What's your name? Kristen. So we got Kristen, Kevin, Anthony, right? Very easy for me to remember. I'll probably forget, but please be patient with me. So yeah, just like Kristen said, it kind of looks like he's meditating. And as we've been discussing that combined with the halo and maybe his golden complexion and some other things, we can say it's not even just your average meditator. This is not like a yoga class or something. This is the Buddha, right? This is the guy who figured it all out, right? He's got his legs crossed in a very special way. I don't know if you can see it, but this is one of his feet, and this is his other foot, to the point where, this foot is up on his thigh, and then this other foot is up on his other thigh. Has anybody ever sat in this way before? Have you guys ever done this before? Crisscross, but the legs are like, rather than, I usually sit crisscross like that. He's got it like this with the legs. It's hard to even imagine doing it. I have done it before. Very painful. I can't keep it that way for very long. It's called a full lotus when you've got your feet up like this. This one would be like a half lotus where you've got one beneath the other. So I'm not even going to try. I'm wearing boots. It's too awkward. So in any case, full lotus posture, hands are kind of folded in like a meditative sort of style. Here, I'll try to, like that. People on the internet land. Yeah, so I think we covered it pretty well, right? Whenever you see somebody who's got their hands and their feet and their posture and their golden complexion and the robes and the halo, probably going to be a Buddha, right? And like Anthony said at the beginning, he kind of already knew that, but now he can explain it, right? And we can kind of compare this Buddha with other Buddhas. I don't think I have any, actually my background on my computer. Let's see if this shows up. We have another Buddha on the background of my computer. I can't make this one bigger. Some things are the same, some things are different, right? What's different about this Buddha?
He's blue.
He's blue. Yeah, who said that?
Me, Jennifer.
Jennifer, that's right. So he's blue. And so that tells you maybe he's a different Buddha. And in fact, it is a different Buddha. So there are many different ways to talk about Buddhas. There are many different names for Buddhas. Obviously, this is not a Buddhism class, so we're not going to go too crazy with the Buddhism stuff. But as you can tell, there's a lot to talk about here. And in fact, I teach a class on Buddhism. Maybe you can tell from this image, this is what I specialize in. This is what I know the most about. And with a topic as big as the nature and experience of religion, a lot of different ways you could go with it, right? So I'm going to, because it's an introductory class, give you a little taste of Buddhism, but also a little taste of many different religions. I hate to say it, but I'm not going to cover them all, because if I tried to do that, we'd just be like doing a little bit of this and that. It wouldn't be very interesting. So you're going to get a little Buddhism, a little Hinduism. We're going to start with Judaism, a little bit of Islam, and kind of theory of religion in general. We'll have some Christianity in there, especially at the beginning and at the end. We'll talk about ritual healing and its connection to science, and compare it to medicine and biology and these sorts of things. So lots of big questions, lots of big ideas. The goal is to just kind of cover religion in general. And then you'll take other religion classes here at Manhattan College. Is this the first year for all you guys? Yeah, so you have to take this your first year, then the next year you'll take something else, the next year you'll probably take something else, and so then you'll finish your requirements. So this will give you just a little taste of religion and some ideas for how to think about religion, right? Just like we said with this Buddha, you just know it's a Buddha. What's a religion, right? You just know it's a religion. And so we're going to think about what are the details of religion? What makes a religion a religion? How can we compare it with other things that maybe aren't so religious, but kind of relate to religion? And of course, always try to tie it back to our lives too. Okay, we got the Buddha in the middle. Anything else you want to say about this? If I asked you, where was this photo taken? What would you say? Obviously, you probably don't know, but give me a ballpark guess. Tibet. Why would you say Tibet? I don't know. Tibetans are Buddhists, right? What about these guys down here? Do these guys look Tibetan to you? It's kind of hard to see. So this guy in the middle, yeah, it's definitely hard to see on the screen there. Anybody in the chat? Anybody recognize this guy in the middle here?
Actually, if you were to go to like the pictures on the right, there's a picture, I believe, of the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, this is the Dalai Lama in the middle. There's some other figures here. These are actually some different lamas. Do you guys know the word lama? L-A-M-A. I'll write on the board too. I think you guys can see that there, yeah. Have you ever heard this word before? So who just talked? That was
Me, Joel.
Joel. Hi, Joel. So Joel said the Dalai Lama. Have you heard of the Dalai Lama before?
During my religion class in high school, we learned about Buddhism. So I got to learn a lot more about the Dalai Lama and all the other aspects of Buddhism and other religions.
Very good. Yeah, so Joel says the Dalai Lama is part of Buddhism. Can you tell us any more about that? If I asked you, who is he in a sentence or two, what would you say?
Well, I know one aspect of Dalai Lama is that they're reincarnated into different people per se. Right now, I believe the Dalai Lama is a kid right now, if I'm correct.
He's actually an old man right now.
Oh, well, I heard for like the next reincarnation, if I'm correct.
The next
Something
one will be a
along those
kid. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So the current one is, so that's excellent, great. So this is a good place to start, Joel. Thank you very much. So Joel used the word reincarnation. Do you guys know that word? So it means you're reborn again and again, right? And this Dalai Lama, like Joel was saying, he's an old man now. You can see, again, when you can go back and find the slide and zoom in when it's not so shiny in this room. But he's a pretty old man now. He's born in 1935. The previous Dalai Lama died in the early 1930s. And so when he was reborn in the early 1930s, a search party went out and found him based on prophecies and divination and kind of fun, interesting stuff like that. So the one who is alive now, he's the 14th Dalai Lama. And so just like Joe Biden is the 46th president of the United States, right? The Dalai Lama had many predecessors before him. But just like Joel was saying, rather than being recognized and holding that position for just a few years, the Dalai Lama holds it for his whole life, right? And there's a sense that he carries all those characteristics, all those ideas, all those potentially even memories from those previous lives. So he's a special figure for Buddhist people. So Anthony, again, had a great intuition. Dalai Lama, maybe he didn't even see the Dalai Lama, but he said, this is probably Tibet. He didn't know why, right? It's kind of hard to say why, but it just feels sort of Tibetan. And he's right. It's because these are Tibetan monks on pictures of Tibetan monks on the table here. However, this picture was not taken in Tibet. It's taken at a Tibetan Buddhist monastery, Tibetan Buddhist temple, we could say. What about people in chat who can see the image more clearly? Where do you guys think this picture is taken? As you're thinking about it, where is Tibet? Where's Tibet? Well, it's part of China now. It is part of China. Yeah, that's exactly right. So the Tibetan plateau is actually huge. If you think, if this is the map of China, my hand is the map of China, it's about 1/3 of the southwest part, right? Think like, I don't know, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, that part of the United States. If that all got stuck together and was raised up a mile or two above the sea level, you'd have the Tibetan plateau. And so most of it, like Anthony's saying, is part of China. Some of it's in India, some of it's in Bhutan, some of it's in Nepal is the other one I was thinking of. So it's this very big, very kind of diverse structure, but most of it's a part of China, exactly. Now, was this taken in China? I used to live in China. Actually, I should flex for a little bit. One reason I am showing you this image, I took this picture. I used to live in China. I used to live in Tibet. I used to, well, I still know Tibetan. I still know Chinese. Most of my research is in the Tibetan language. It's about Tibetan Buddhism. I also research Tibetan medicine. So these are the things that I write things about. I'm writing a book about. And again, this is why we're starting with this. It's kind of a way of self-introduction, right? This is a tradition that I've spent a lot of time studying. Anybody in the chat? We've got Nepal, we've got South Asia. You guys are missing the key detail. Let me zoom in and see if anybody picks it up. What does that look like? English. Yeah, so it says exit in English. This was taken in Brooklyn. Is when I first moved to town. I was just sort of looking for, the different monasteries around, and my friend came to visit me. He took me here. He's like, Bill, check out this cool monastery in Brooklyn. So this is called the Dorjiling Buddhist Center. It's just, down across the Brooklyn Bridge in Vinegar Hill, I want to say. Obviously now is not a great time to go visit, but it goes to show, right? Even though this might feel a little like different, a little, especially as a Catholic school, a little bit foreign, a little bit weird or something like that. This is here, this is New York, right? This is a part of America too. And so even though, what to say, there are some kind of strange things about this picture, some things maybe we know a little bit about, but there are a lot of details we're not familiar with. This is also very much a part of where we are now, right? And so that's something to keep in mind too, is to find, familiarity in the strange, and maybe it'll allow us to find strange things in the familiar. At the museum. Yeah, you can find stuff like this at a museum. There's one museum called the Rubin Museum. That's a space that's very much like this. And I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it before, but it's a cool museum. If you're ever looking for stuff to do on the weekend, you could check it out. I used to do extra credit stuff there, but now, with COVID and stuff, I just feel like any sort of event is a bad idea. But you can go there. I think they have like a social distance opening kind of thing, so you can check it out if you're curious. If there are no questions, any questions about things, comments? Not so much? All right, so why don't we keep going? So here's another religious space. Maybe we've played enough guessing games, I feel like, but how about one more? Does anybody recognize this space? The Sistine Chapel. Interesting choice. It is a chapel. It is not the Sistine Chapel. Have you ever been to Sistine Chapel? So it is a chapel, but Sistine Chapel has like the Leonardo da Vinci painting on the roof, right? This one, I guess you can't see the roof, but it's not quite as well decorated. This is a different chapel. Has anybody been to this chapel? Otherwise known as let's see if anybody in chat got it. Nothing? Otherwise known as the Smith Auditorium. So this is part of our campus. Say again? Yeah, you might have been here before. This is an old picture, so I'm throwing you off with the black and white. But this is makes me think it's on campus. Yes, that's right. Here's the official title. It's the Chapel of De La Salle and his brothers, otherwise known as the Smith Auditorium. You have to go upstairs to get there. So if you've ever been in the bottom part of Smith Auditorium, it doesn't look that great. It's like, a place you can have a cocktail party or something. But if you go up the stairs, there's this immaculate, amazing sacred space, right? Where mass was held at some point. I don't know what it's used for these days. Obviously, we're living in special times. But again, it goes to show, even though we're a very secular institution in many ways, we are also still a Catholic school, right? And we have sacred spaces even on our campus here. Okay, why don't we shift gears a little bit? I talked about bringing devices to class, right? And again, I didn't warn you about this, so if you don't have a device, don't worry. I'm happy to chat with you in person. But if you do have a device, please bring it out. It could be a phone, it could be a tablet, it could be a laptop. If you don't have one, again, don't worry about it, because I did not warn you about this in advance. But what we're going to do is we're going to introduce ourselves to each other. And the way we're going to do that is through the Zoom breakout rooms. So again, you might need to download an app or something in order to access this. If that's the case, actually, you might as well do it, because again, in the future, we're going to do this pretty much every class. So might as well give it a try today. So as you're preparing that, I'll show you how the breakout rooms work. So we've got 9 people in the chat. So I'll make 4 rooms. We've got a few folks adding on. Kristen's in. So we can make another one there. Let's see. I'll wait a moment and I'll stop recording. Resume recording. Let's see, share the screen. I'll get the chat going. I'll get the participants going. All right, we are mostly back now. Hello, everybody. I'm gonna mute all y'all just so we don't get an echo. All right, close this. Kevin, you wanna mute me because you can hear me? Sorry, I'm just easily distracted. I don't know. Just turn the volume down. Okay, so we're back, everybody. How were your conversations? Yeah, you make some friends? Anthony and I were talking about all the interesting movies that one can watch these days. It really is like a golden age of watching things, isn't it? Frank rates 8 out of 8. Is that what that says? That's a lot of 8s, man. I'm getting confused by all the 8s. Same. Okay. You guys are using some fancy lingo here, rating 8 out of 8. All right. So just because you guys are here and it's easy to pick on you, Kevin and Kristen. Would you like to introduce your partners? Who do you guys talk to? Oh, did I warn you that I was going to ask you to introduce each other? I don't think I warned you. So if you don't remember, then I apologize for not warning you about that. But do you remember who you talked to? Who did you talk to? Brendan. Okay. And tell us about Brendan. Who's Brendan? Mm-hmm. Okay. Civil engineering. Cool. And did you talk about books and movies or anything? What did you guys talk about? Small talk. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, it sounds like you actually got to get into some real topics. Actually, Anthony and I were doing the same, right? Just like, how's life? What are you going through? Yeah, what are you thinking about these days? Okay. Do you have any gems of wisdom you want to share? Did you learn anything? Well, that's what I'm asking you. Okay. And you said it was Brendan, right? Okay. Why don't we get Brendan in here? Brendan, how was the conversation? What did you learn about Kevin?
Hey, so Kevin's a cool guy.
Kevin's a cool guy.
He's studying mechanical engineering from Brooklyn, and he has a very long commute here that I feel very sorry for him having to take.
Kevin, are you commuting from Brooklyn? From Queens. Oh, what part of Queens?
Queens, my bad.
Oh, by the airport. That is a really long commute. Okay. Well, if you ever need to join online, I'm not going to judge you because I know what you mean. Yeah. So when I was teaching online over the break, I mostly taught in person, but we had after Thanksgiving, right? We didn't come back. It was such a weird experience because as maybe you can tell, I get kind of jazzed up for class. I'm just like ready to go. I'm really jazzed up, and then when we finish, I'm just in my room by myself. I'm like, I need to like go for a walk or something, right? My mind sort of goes all over the place. So yeah, I feel the same way. There's something important about being in the room together, kind of sharing the same experience. Yeah, I feel this. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. But again, you ever traffic's ever bad or something, you need to get online. Nobody's gonna be upset about that. Okay, and Krista, who did you talk to? You talked to Collins. Okay, and who's Collins?
Collins, right here.
Hi, Collins. That's okay. I didn't warn you that I was going to quiz you about this. So whatever your impressions were. English major, junior. Did you guys talk about pop culture? Any books or movies or shows or anything? Power. I've heard of Power. I haven't seen it. Collins, you want to tell us about Power?
Yeah, it's a good show. It's based on Queens, New York, and that's where I grew up in. so I can relate to a little bit of it.
Queens.
Like it's a drama. It's a drama, violence, action, all that.
So all that. All right. So if you can't hear, I'm gonna figure out the sound. I think I need a connection to this, and I need like a USB-C converter. I didn't bring it. I need a dongle. So you probably couldn't hear him. But Colin said he watched Power. It's about Queens, violence, drama, action, and he said he grew up in Queens. So we all got a Queens connection here. Like I said, I studied Tibetan language, culture, religion, all that sort of stuff. A lot of Tibetan people in Queens. So I used to take the train down to Queens, Jackson Heights. You guys know Jackson Heights?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where all the good Indian food is. A lot of Tibetan restaurants there. I used to hang out with a Tibetan doctor. He was like upstairs behind, like, say it again? It's kind of greasy. Yeah, it's probably not the healthiest thing to eat. There's a Tibetan dumpling called a momo. You guys ever had momos before? Spectacular. It's very, very good. You're on a cold day, just warms you up. It is because it's greasy. It's really hot. You bite into it, you burn your tongue, so you got to be a little bit careful. But it just fills you up from the inside out. It's really kind of an amazing thing. Okay. And Collins, what did you learn about Krista?
Kristen, she plays softball. She's a marketing major, and she likes to snowboard on her free time.
So yeah, Kristen likes to snowboard, softball, marketing major. Okay. Did you guys talk about books and movies and that kind of stuff?
Well, over the break, she watched New Girl.
New Girl.
Yeah.
I've heard of New Girl. What is New Girl? Kristen, what's New Girl all about? Okay. It's like almost like real life, and you're just sort of looking in at somebody else's real life. I've seen The Office. I feel like The Office, when I've done this sort of exercise before, and The Office almost always comes up at least once. Somebody's like, I'm watching The Office for the 10th time. And I'm like, how do you do that? I like Office. I feel like there's something about it. So I feel maybe New Girl is something I should add to my list. So would you recommend it, Kristen? Definitely. Okay. All right. I'll put it in the chat so I can remember New Girl. Get a little taste. Okay. All right. Very, very good. I would ask Anthony to share about our conversation, but I was already there. I don't know. Anthony, do you want to share anything about our conversation? These times? Nothing really. We talked about Train Spotting, kind of a classic, interesting movie. Oh, Java. Remind me later. Have you guys heard of Train Spotting before? What inspired you to watch it? How did you find that movie?
My friend showed it to me when I was like 12, and then I just wanted to rewatch it because I really didn't understand it a lot.
Yeah, so that was one thing we talked about. So it's mostly about like addiction and heroin. It's a pretty heavy movie, and we both had seen it when we were young. I haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe I should return to it. But yeah, so Anthony was saying by returning to it, he had a different experience. Frank has seen it before. Frank, did you like the movie? Absolutely, all caps. I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yeah, I liked it. It was pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty
All right.
interesting.
Okay. All right, very good. So again, this was just a little bit of like a preview for what the class is going to be like. We're going to do a little lecture at the beginning. I can sort of, tell you about Buddhism and that sort of stuff. And then we'll do a little bit of conversation, right? And ideally, we can kind of link those things up. Obviously, today, we just talked about pop culture, got to know ourselves, introduce ourselves. And in the future, I will always try to connect it to pop culture and you and your lives and your experiences. And, of course, me and my life and my experiences. Because if we don't do that, it's kind of boring, right? It's just not, to use a word that people use a lot is you can't relate to it, right? So something I try to do in this class is make it so we can relate to the material. That's always the goal. Just so you know what is coming, here's another thing I will refer to a lot this semester, and we can look at this together. Hold on, I'm getting stuff in front of it. Moodle. So I'll hit the lights so you can see this a little better. And this is probably familiar by now. I've already emailed you about it, and you've probably used Moodle in your other classes, but just in case it's not, here you go. This is the link, And I'll put it in the chat even if you want to join me. Here y'all go. So yeah, what's this all about? I'm going to use Moodle a lot. Here's sort of the schedule for the entire semester, week by week, all the resources you need. Here at the top, there's this link announcements. You might think that's not a very interesting link, but this is actually where all my emails are going to go. So I sent you all an email last night directly, right? Did you guys get my email from last night? I did that to just sort of make sure we're all in the same place at the same time. But most of my emails are going to come from Moodle. So if you're somehow not registered on Moodle, make sure you get registered on Moodle because most of my communications are going to come through here. I sent you one over the weekend. I guess it was on Monday. And just with a bunch of links, you know, the Zoom link, which is perhaps how you all found me today. And you might be thinking, Bill, I did not get that email from you. And I would say, don't worry, just look at Moodle, right? Because all the emails get stored here, which is why I'm going to use this. Is if you feel like you ever lost something, or you're like, didn't he email us about that like a week ago and I already forgot about it? Just go to Moodle, hit the announcements part, right? This is where all my emails are going to be. Again, it doesn't say email. I guess I could. Can I edit this? Oh, I can edit. Maybe I'll edit it later to make it say emails. So anyways, this is where that link is, just the very first link, you know, under all this other stuff. Underneath that is the syllabus, another important thing. So if you haven't looked at it yet, you have plenty of time to look at it. You can look at it this weekend. I'm not going to read it to you because that would take way too long, but here's just general information. This class is section 16. As you can see, I teach 2 different sections, so please don't get confused. You already know what time the class is at, and it's actually the same room, so not too confusing. Here's my office. You'll probably never go there because of COVID, but you know, maybe things will change, who knows. Office hours will be online, so if you ever want to talk, I'll always be available from 11 to 12, or just set up an appointment. In fact, always set up an appointment, but if that time works for you, then come find me. I'll be in the Zoom room and we can talk. Attendance, I'm not too strict about attendance. Some of your teachers probably are, because technically we're supposed to be strict. Is this recording? Yeah, it is recording. So I'll be careful with the way I say this. But the bottom line is it's a pandemic. People are getting sick and dying and that sort of stuff. So if you ever feel sick, don't come to class. If you even feel a little bit sick, if you feel like I have allergies, but I don't know, just stay at home, right? Under normal circumstances, that would mean you miss class. Under these circumstances, that just means you're in the Zoom room instead of in the room with me. That might mean some days I'll be here by myself, and that's fine because I'm going to be here anyway, right? I teach a class right before this. So if you can't come to class for other reasons, that's also okay, right? I'm not going to be really strict about this. So I'm very loose on attendance. If you don't show up in the Zoom room, however, I will notice, right? Because I take attendance through Zoom. So I'm going to see everybody who's here. If you don't show up, or if you know you're not going to be able to show up, just talk to me or underline it, communicate with me, tell me what's going on, okay? Again, I'm pretty understanding with this sort of thing. It's a pandemic after all, so we got to be more lenient, more flexible. Deadlines, I'm a little less flexible about. I'm still pretty flexible, but there are deadlines, and I expect you to meet those deadlines. If you can't, again, talk to me, right? Ask for an extension, and I will probably give it to you, even if you don't have a very good reason, and you just say, hey, I couldn't do it. I'll say, that's also okay. Just get it done eventually. But if you don't talk to me, I will say, hey, where is your paper? And you'll be penalized or whatever, right? So please just turn things in on time. And if you can't, just let me know. Participation is basically what we were just doing, right? We're here to talk to each other, discuss material. We're going to read some pretty challenging stuff this semester. And I think the best way for us to understand it is by talking to each other. So please come do the reading before class. Come prepared to discuss it. Come with questions. Come with ideas. Share those ideas with us. If you're able to do all of that, you'll definitely get full points. Plagiarism is bad. I'll tell you more about that later, but just don't do it. So yeah, participation is 10% of your grade. It's a little bit of a judgment call. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to like give you a participation grade every class. It's more just, do you come to class? Do you participate? Did you read the book? Did you talk about the book? Did you talk about your own ideas? Did you talk about anything at all? Is it relevant to the class, or are you sort of checked out and just not really paying attention, right? And of course, as a teacher, I'm very well trained to see these things, and I will grade you accordingly. We'll have some forum posts. Again, I guess I don't think I talked about these yet, but they're going to be just these very short assignments, a paragraph or two. I think I wrote 2-paragraph minimum, but it doesn't even have to be a page, right? It's just a little post on the internet, longer than a tweet, shorter than a paper. And they'll be about things that we discussed in class. So it's basically my way of seeing that you're paying attention, you're here, you're participating, you're getting something out of the class, right? It's kind of my way of checking in with you. There are going to be 4 of those throughout the semester. So it's not even like every week, right? It's every now and then. We'll have exams. This is a big part of your grade, right? 40%. So 20% each, exams. And then there'll be a final paper, also 20%. So most of your grade is exams and the paper, right? All right. So books, articles, podcasts. There are 3 parts to the class, right? Part 1, religion and society, 7 weeks, forum post, exam, right? So I tried to give you some space in between each one, and we'll look at this again on Moodle. So if you didn't get all that, don't worry. Part 2, religion, meditation, forum post, exam, religion and healing, forum post, paper. So as you can see, it's sort of like week on, week off, week on, week off. You have something to do, you have a free week. You have something due, you have a free week. So that's basically how I organize the class. Any questions about all that? I know I just said a lot of things. Chat, you guys have any questions for me? If you ever do, don't be shy. Oh yeah, something that came up when I was talking to Anthony. Who am I? You guys can call me Dr. Bill. You can call me Dr. McGrath, Professor McGrath. You can just call me Professor if you don't remember my name, but I feel like Dr. Bill is pretty easy to remember. Titles are good. It's good to remember titles and call teachers by something special because it makes us feel special. You don't want to hurt our feelings, right? So we put a lot of time into these degrees, and so you gotta flex on them whenever you can. All right. So looking at Moodle, it's basically that it's the same schedule as in the syllabus, but kind of spread out. And this is where all the materials are. So right here's introductions. And so if you were thinking, I would like to see those slides before class so I can prepare, and so I can even download them and take notes on them. And I would say, great, here they are. So you can download these slides. They're already up here, and they're for your enjoyment. Next week, we're going to read Smith, What is Scripture? You might be thinking, Bill, how am I going to find this reading? And I will say, look at the links right there. Smith, What is Scripture? There it is. So it's a PDF. You open it, you read it. This is actually pretty hard. It's an academic book. It's only 20 pages, so it's not going to be really long or anything, but it's pretty hard reading. In fact, I'll go out and say, this will be the hardest thing we read this semester. So if you read this and you think, this is really hard, I don't know if I can handle this, don't worry. That's kind of the point, is we're going to start on a hard note, but it'll help open up the class, right? Because we're talking about all of religion, all of religious studies, this big question of what is religion and how can we think about it? What should we do with it? It's a big question, right? And so this is going to help us narrow that down. Just like we were saying with the image of the Buddha, right? Looks like a Buddha. How does it look like a Buddha? What about him is a Buddha characteristic? Can we compare this to another Buddha, right? We can do that same thing with religion or with scripture. So Smith is going to help us figure that out. After that, this is more of almost like a short story. Has anybody seen Fiddler on the Roof? Fiddler on the Roof? You say you've heard of it, Kristen? Yeah, so it's an old show. It's from like the 70s, but it's based on this even older story. This story is about 100 years old. Pretty interesting. Lots of information about kind of what it means to be in a Jewish community 100 years ago. So pretty interesting stuff. So as you can see, this first week, we're bouncing around a little bit. This is about love and marriage, just like the Fiddler of the Roof is about love and marriage. And then I'm going to ask you to write a short piece by Thursday. which is, you might feel like, oh no, I already have an assignment, and it's true, you do, but it's not too bad, right? Basically, I want you to take a love song. Could be any love song, because we're going to be talking about love on Thursday, and interpret it as a scripture. Now, that might sound like a weird task, but after you read Smith, it should make more sense, right? After we have some discussions about what is scripture. Is this book scripture? I would say probably yes. Is this book scripture? I would say probably no. But why? What makes one a scripture versus the other? And how do we decide how to read each one, right? And so that's what we're going to play with in this first forum post. So I'm going to ask you to pick a love song, any love song. I do want it to be a love song, but it could be any one. A love song that you like, hopefully, and then interpret it as a scripture, and then think about how that changes the song for you, okay? So even though Smith is hard and it's early to be giving you an assignment, my hope is this won't be too difficult. I'm just asking you to write about a love song, right? Is that pretty clear? So again, just to be totally explicit, here's today, Thursday the 28th. Next Thursday on the 4th, I'm going to ask you to do a short writing assignment before midnight, okay? Then the following week, nothing, we'll be reading and discussing and learning things. Then the following week after that, I'll have you listen to a podcast. It's not a reading, it's a podcast. So you can hit this link and you'll see what it is, and it's a podcast. So we'll listen to that, and there'll be a short writing assignment about that. Then a couple weeks will go by, and then you'll have an exam, right? We'll read this book, and there'll be an exam. So that's kind of the next 7 weeks. That'll be half the class, is a couple short writing assignments and an exam. Can you handle it? Good. All right. Yeah. So my hope is that, I don't overload you with assignments. It's basically, we got week on, a couple weeks off, week on, couple weeks off, week on, right? So that's kind of the format. Any questions about all of that? Again, I know I'm talking a lot. Okay, so one final thing, and then we can call it a day. When did we start? 1:35? Yeah, so we still got like 20 minutes, plenty of time. Yeah, so this is the plan for next week. And the last thing is books. So I'm going to ask you to buy a couple books. They should not be expensive. If you buy them used, it's probably like $5, maybe 10, if you include shipping. This book is pretty old. It's from the 70s. It was first written in the 70s. First published. There's a new edition. The one I have is from 2006. Any edition's fine as long as it's this book. Make sure it's by this translator too, Narayana Ramayana. So there are going to be other versions of this book. Get this one. Get Narayana Ramayana. And I would recommend you buying the book. I'm not going to penalize you if you don't, but just for your own education. As you can see, I've underlined things and starred things and written things in the margin. I've read this book, I don't know, a dozen times. I've taught it a dozen times, and so I've read it every time. I've read this so many times, and every time I read it, I still get more out of it, right? It's not an easy book to understand. And I find when I read a real book, like a physical book, I can remember it better. I think there's something about space where it's I remember that part was in that part of the page and that part was in that part of the page. Whereas when I'm reading on my phone, I'm always scrolling through stuff and it gets kind of mushy. I'm like, wait, what did I just look at? Does that ever happen to you guys? Where I'm like, oh yeah, I should look up the basketball score for that game. I forgot that's what was happening. And then I scroll a little bit. I was like, wait, I wanted to do something. What did I want to do? I can't remember what I wanted to do. And my mind, again, turns to mush and I can't remember anything. Does that ever happen to you guys? So that always happens when I'm reading on my screen. It does not happen when I'm reading on a book, though. So I really recommend getting the book. Not expensive, should be pretty easy to find. And if you have any problems finding it, let me know, and I can try to help you figure it out. This book, a little bit longer, 400 pages. So if you've never read a 400-page book, now is your chance. I guess it's more like 360, so it's not quite 400 pages. But it's a book. It's a hefty, hefty book. We're not going to read this whole thing. We'll probably read 2/3 of it. So we'll read a significant portion of it at the end of class. This will be the last thing we read. I'm not going to give you an exam on it. So I'm not going to test, did you read every word? It'll be more here's this big book, write a paper about it. right? So it'll be up to you to kind of find the pieces you like and then synthesize them into a paper. So we'll talk about this later. We'll read this pretty soon though. The first exam will be on this book. So that's what we got. Please get those 2 books. And that's pretty much it. So do you have any questions about all of that? So this is basically how things are going to go, Kevin. This book you'll need in about a month. Let me find it. Yeah, that's a good question. So the first day we'll discuss it is the 25th of February. So today's the 28th, so you got about a month to get it. Yeah, so not a big hurry. We'll read a bunch of other stuff first, and this one we'll start reading. Let's see. It's after the second exam. So yeah, Fadiman is the author of this one, The Spirit Catches You. That'll be April 15th. So you can get the slow shipping on this one. The very, very slow shipping. Yeah, so neither one is really urgent, but do try to get the Narayan Ramayana. So this is an important book from India. Try to get that one soon because we'll start reading it pretty soon. Other questions? Good question. Chat, any questions for me? No? All right. Well, why don't we call it a day? I think we actually did end up using most of the time. So I'm going to turn the lights on and we can get at it. Yeah, so that's, I think, pretty clear. Nice talking to everybody. Nice meeting everybody. Next time, we're going to do a lot of the same. Please, again, log in to the Zoom room on Monday, and I'll see y'all here, or come to class, or some combination of the 2, right? So nice meeting everybody. See you later, folks in Zoom. I'm going to shut it down now. Goodbye, Jennifer. See you later.
So that's gonna be